200,000 years ago, humans wore nothing at all. And they didn't need to. Humans have more sweat glands than almost any other mammal on Earth. A built-in cooling system that even outperforms the animals around them. Here, in this heat, the human body was already perfect. No fur, no clothing, no problem. For nearly 200,000 years, this was simply enough. Then the planet itself changed its mind. Curiosity pulled the first humans north, out of Africa, and the warm world disappeared behind them. And then, for the first time ever, humans felt truly cold. Their bodies had no answer for this. No fur, no fat layer built for freezing air. Just body heat leaking away into nothing. Many of them never made it through that first winter. Then, the first real weapon against the cold. Fire. It could warm a cave. But the second you stepped outside it, it meant nothing. Out in that same blizzard, something massive moved without a single shiver. How? It wasn't one layer of fur, it was two. Trapped air barely moves, so body heat simply stays. Heat doesn't need to be made. It just needs to be kept. It's the same reason a bird fluffs its feathers in winter. The same reason a polar bear survives on floating ice. And suddenly, one human asked a question no one had ever asked before. What if I wore that? It wasn't fashion. It was an idea about to save an entire species. By morning, the first clothing in human history would exist. But here's the part most people get wrong. Putting on fur isn't as simple as picking it up. Raw hide is stiff, heavy, practically useless. Left alone, it would rot within days. So the real invention wasn't fur. It was figuring out what to do with it. The solution turned out to be patience. First, a tool to make the hide usable, scraping away fat and flesh hour after hour. This single tool, built only to make another tool, was one of the first true technologies humans ever invented. Then came softening, stretching the hide again and again, until dead weight became wearable material. And for the first time in human history, someone got dressed. Nothing fancy, just wrapped fur. But it worked exactly like the mammoth's coat. For the first time, a human could leave the fire and stay warm anyway. But there was a problem nobody saw coming. A wrapped hide could slip, fall open, blow loose. Wrapping wasn't enough. It had to be held together. The fix took thousands of years to arrive, but when it did, it changed everything. The eyed needle, roughly 40,000 years old. Stronger than it looks. Tough enough to bind hides together for years. For the first time, separate pieces could become one fitted shape. Sleeves, hoods, clothing that finally moved with the body instead of fighting it. This wasn't decoration, it was engineering. Some scientists believe this exact difference may explain why one human species survived the Ice Age, and another didn't. Loose fur lets cold air sneak in at every gap. A stitched seam closes that gap completely. A few millimeters of stitching. The difference between surviving an Ice Age and not. With proper clothing, humans stopped being prisoners of climate. They walked into landscapes that had been lethal one generation earlier. This is how humans crossed into Siberia, and eventually, into the Americas. A piece of stitched animal hide had just redrawn the map of the entire species. One cold night had become the key to an entire planet. Here's something most documentaries get wrong. Cavemen weren't dragging clubs in single shaggy hides. That image is almost entirely fiction. The real evidence shows fitted trousers, sewn boots, even tailored underlayers. Ice Age humans weren't primitive, they were specialists. Some of their cold weather gear wouldn't look out of place in a modern outdoor store. Clothing didn't stop in the Arctic. It went into deserts, into rainforests, into mountains thin on air, into coastlines, onto every single landmass on Earth. And here's the twist. In the hottest place on Earth, humans didn't take clothes off. They put more on. A loose robe makes its own shade. It traps air that's cooler than the desert around it. Covered skin can actually stay cooler than bare skin. It also slows water loss. In the desert, that's survival math. Same logic, same fire. Just facing the opposite direction. The rainforest asked a different question. Not heat, everything else. Insects, thorns, sudden rain. Two opposite climates, two opposite outfits. One identical idea. Control what touches your skin. Then came altitude. Not one thick layer, several thin ones, each layer trapping its own pocket of warmth. This single idea is still the foundation of every winter coat made today. Coastlines demanded something else again. Lighter, quicker drying, built for a life half lived in water. Within a single generation, no two human groups dressed the same. Clothing had become a direct readout of where you lived, and the tools to make it kept getting sharper. Raw fiber, spoon thread, woven cloth, 3 steps, one enormous leap forward. Clothing began carrying more than warmth. It began carrying identity. You could read a stranger's entire life story off their clothes before they said a single word. Within tens of thousands of years, one hairless ape had used a single invention to occupy nearly every climate on the planet. Quick fact, desert robes are often dark because looseness matters more than color for staying cool. Quick fact, fur-trimmed hoods aren't decoration. The fur breaks up wind before it ever touches your face. Quick fact, some of the earliest footwear wasn't for warmth at all. It was to stop feet from literally burning. Quick fact, tightly woven plant fiber can shed rain almost like a modern raincoat. A trick humans discovered thousands of years before waterproofing existed as a word. Walk into any store today, and you'll find 1,000 jackets claiming to be revolutionary. Almost none of it is actually new. Down feathers work almost exactly like mammoth fur. Countless tiny pockets of trapped still air. It's never about how heavy a jacket is. It's about how much air it can hold completely still. Wool solves a different problem entirely. It can absorb 1/3 of its weight in water and still keep insulating. Cotton does the exact opposite. Wet cotton collapses. All that trapped air, gone. Outdoor experts have a saying for this. Cotton kills. In cold, wet conditions, the wrong fabric is more dangerous than no fabric at all. Scale the same idea up. You get a sleeping bag. It's not the bag that warms you. It's your own heat, trapped. Sleep directly on cold ground, and it pulls heat from your body faster than the air ever could. Zoom out further. A house wall is just a giant fur coat. A badly insulated house loses heat exactly like bare human skin. Push it further. Layered heat-resistant materials, let a person stand somewhere, paper would instantly ignite. A surgical gown isn't there for warmth at all. Its weave is tight enough to block bacteria at a microscopic scale. And the most extreme version of clothing ever built. 14 layers, solving 14 separate ways space tries to kill you. Strip away the technology, and it's solving the exact same problem as that first hide by the fire. Different centuries, different planets even. Always the same idea, repeating itself. So, let's put them side by side. Both trap still air in countless tiny pockets. Same physics, discovered 40,000 years apart. The only real difference is precision. A jacket that weighs almost nothing can now outperform a hide that took days to prepare. The idea connecting them never changed. Only the execution did. Did you know? Wool socks were standard military issue for centuries. Not for comfort, but to prevent frostbite. Did you know? A foil emergency blanket can reflect over 90% of your body heat back at you, using a layer thinner than paper. Did you know? Emperor penguins use a living version of the same trick, huddling together to trap warm air as a group. Humans were doing the exact same thing around a fire, long before anyone called it science. Right now, somewhere in your home, there's a jacket hanging by the door. You've probably never thought twice about it, but that jacket is the end of a chain of ideas stretching back 200,000 years. The same motion, wrapping fabric around your body before the cold, connects you directly to that first human by the fire. Every time you put on a coat, you repeat an experiment that began on a frozen plain, with no guarantee it would work. Today, almost 8 billion humans rely on that same experiment, every day, without noticing. It's easy to credit fire, or tools, or language for human survival. But clothing might be the quietest, most underrated invention humans ever made. Without it, humans would likely still be confined to the warm regions where we evolved. Instead, we're the only species currently living on every single continent, including ones permanently below freezing. It all traces back to one cold night, one mammoth, and one human curious enough to ask a simple question. What if I wore that? Every robe, every jacket, every spacesuit since has just been a new answer to that same question. So the next time you grab that jacket without thinking, it might be worth pausing for 1 second. Because that ordinary piece of fabric is one of the oldest, most successful survival technologies our species has ever built. It's not just something you wear. It's proof of everything your species had to learn, just to survive long enough to become you. And it all started with someone, somewhere, looking at a mammoth, and asking the right question. If this made you think, subscribe. We do this every week. One button, that's all it takes to never miss the next one. There's a lot more where this came from. See you in the next one.